At Members First Federal Credit Union, learning starts with a simple belief about people and culture.
What you can do collectively as the we is so much greater than what you can do as the me. So we talk about that in every single thing that we do. We talk about it during orientation day one. We've built that into every piece of our training, whether it's leadership training, it's technical training, is it frontline engagement training with our associates. As we're troubleshooting, as we're doing career coaching, we're consistently talking and bringing back to that base formula, which is we is greater than me.
That's Brad Garfinkel, Vice President of Learning and Development at Members First Federal Credit Union. He'll explain how they've built a culture where learning, leadership, and community are inseparable. As we begin the 7th season of Powered by Learning, next.
Powered by Learning is brought to you by DaVinci Interactive. DaVinci's approach to learning is grounded in 30 years of innovation and expertise. We use proven strategies and leading technology to develop solutions that empower learners to improve quality and boost performance. Learn more at davinci.com.
Joining me now are DaVinci Client Solutions Consultant Angeline Evans and our guest, Brad Garfinkel, VP Learning and Development at Members First Federal Credit Union. Hi, Brad, and welcome to Powered by Learning.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, Susan. Hey, Angeline. I am so excited to be here today, and I really appreciate this opportunity to speak with both of you and tell you a little bit about what we do at Members First.
That's great. Well, let's start off talking about Members First. Certainly, it's well known in the central Pennsylvania region, but for our listeners who aren't familiar with Members First, tell us a little bit about the organization and where you're located.
Yeah. Well, we just celebrated our 75th anniversary. All of last year was spent celebrating the 75 years from our original founding. We have 60 branches. We have a 61st that's going to be opening in a few short weeks. As you mentioned, we're based in central Pennsylvania. So if you think of the map, we go from the eastern side of the Lehigh Valley all the way to central Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, the state capital, and up into Williamsport. So right smack in the middle of the state.
And continuing to grow.
Continuing to grow.
And then talk a little bit, Brad, about your journey and your current role. How did you get to where you are? What are you in charge of at Members First?
Yeah, I'm celebrating this year my 9th anniversary at Members First Federal Credit Union, which is amazing. I blinked and all of a sudden 9 years has gone by. But what is even more special to me is that I've been a member of the credit union myself for 45 years. So this is my 45th anniversary as a member. That also means that the banks and the other banks I was working for previously, you might have said I was cheating on because I banked at Members First. But I'm in my second year entering my third year as Vice President of Learning and Development. Prior to that, I had responsibility for our retail branches. So I was VP of Retail Services. I had the 500 retail associates. At the time, the 60 retail branches. And the majority of my career has been in retail banking, community banking, leadership development. I've spent 2 short years at another institution overseeing their university. So it was an easy transition for me to take on the opportunity of using what I knew and my experience in really navigating a financial institution and focusing entirely on learning and development.
And a brand that you're familiar with and supportive of, too.
Yeah.
So tell me more, what helped you make that transition successfully? I mean, obviously you have that wealth of experience in the industry, but it's not always an easy switch. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, as I mentioned, so we, with learning and development, 65% of the work that learning and development does or has done is really in supporting retail banking. So when I was leading retail, I was their biggest customer. I was their biggest client, if you look at it that way. And every single thing that retail did and does touches the organization: lending, operations, compliance, legal. So the relationships I had and that I was fostering I was doing it from a different perspective. I was doing it from the leader of retail as we're protecting our members, protecting the organization. I was just literally changing seats and taking those relationships and looking at it from a different perspective. It's how do we take their partnership and how do we make sure that we're fostering relationships through education, growing the individuals, growing the credit union.
And you had mentioned to me that when you stepped into the role, you conducted a listening tour across your organization. What did you uncover when you did that?
So Angeline, nothing like stepping into a brand new role and then having the single biggest project you may ever work on in your career right in front of you. So we were rolling out an organizational wide project that had just started just as I came into the role. It was going to touch all 1,300 of our associates. And I had to figure out how the heck are we going to train all these people with something that wasn't even built yet. So the first thing we did was we put together a listening tour. It was myself and my team. We met with business unit leaders from every single business unit, and we took advantage of the opportunity to talk about here's what's coming, here's what we're anticipating, but help us understand what is your relationship with learning and development? What have you done in the past? What training do you do yourselves that maybe it's not part of a curriculum that's owned or built or managed by learning and development? And those relationships helped us understand their expectations for this big project rollout, but also even deeper than that, it helped us understand their perception of learning and development. What was really interesting was, I mentioned 65% of the work done by L&D at the time was supporting retail, was supporting our call center, our contact center. And what we learned was there was this perception that they just thought, well, L&D is for those groups. It's not for us. So that opened the door to us talking through, what are their pains? How can we help support their growth? What is it that they do? If they had a wish list of how we could support them, what would that be? So it really became, it was a really great, valuable opportunity. And some of the relationships that maybe I didn't have as deeply, I was able to foster much better.
And so it sounds like the L&D arm really expanded its reach through that listening tour in a way that it might not have before. How did that feed into the strategy that you then shaped in your role as you stepped in, undertaking that big project, but moving forward?
Yeah. So, what's the motto? Be careful with what you wish for.
Yeah.
Because it may come
what
true.
you ask for. Yeah.
And one of the things that I thrive on is, what are those new opportunities, new strategies? And the fact that every week now we have a different business unit coming to us and saying, is this within your sphere of opportunity? Is this something that you can do? Our team is made up of facilitators. Our team is made up of instructional designers. And many of these folks didn't understand really the wealth of experience that we have. I have someone that's on my team, and one of their strengths is really measuring ROI around the training experience. And for us to talk through, here's how you're doing the training. Let us measure what the effectiveness is and what the cost is to the institution. Is there a better way of training? Is there a way of buying training or building training? So it got people to begin thinking differently about what they do. It allowed the doors to open so that we could provide support to them and provide our expertise to them to say, let us look at it. We don't want to take away, and we can't facilitate every single training that exists. You're subject matter experts, but we can help you build and better structure it. So, but there's things that we're doing now that I never dreamed, over 2 years ago, that we would be working on projects, organizationally, different groups coming to us and saying, hey, we have an idea and we think that we're going to need your help for this.
So it sounds like you really shifted the learning culture at Members First.
Significantly. Yeah, we absolutely did. It was, again, at the end of the day, we have some folks that have some really strong technical knowledge, but we have folks that understand how people learn. They know how to scaffold learning in a certain way. And there's certain business units that put things together. They think it looks good. They think that folks are learning. And we were able to use that ROI to be able to track the effectiveness of it. And to find efficiencies so that we can learn better and have it stick.
I think that's wonderful. And that's something that we see a lot as we work across different clients. At DaVinci side, we're working mostly with subject matter experts and doing the instructional design, the scaffolding. And I think a lot of folks overlook that you need to be more than a SME to develop content that's going to see the effectiveness that you're describing. So I think that's wonderful. So talking about culture, you have been part of the Members First culture for decades as a customer, and now in the L&D role, I know you know how important it is to really live and breathe the culture of an organization when you're putting forth training programs. Tell me a little bit more about how you make sure that is practiced when you're rolling out initiatives and strategies and all of the different types of training initiatives that you do.
Yeah, I could talk about this forever. Oh my gosh, where to start? So I think probably one of the most important things is it starts at day number one and what the experience is for our associate. There's organizations where they have a day one new hire orientation. They put their best foot forward. People see what they think is the best of the organization, and then there's kind of the rest of the experience. We want day number one to be the same as day number two and day number three. And there's hoopla, and there's communication, there's transparency. The most important thing is really them understanding what the mission is. I'm gonna just share our mission because I think it really tells the story. So our responsibility as a credit union, we are community owned. Our members own us. So we serve our members, our associates, and our communities through support, empowerment, and meaningful relationships. So everything that I just said are the things that we go into when we're thinking about how are we working on a project. What is it that we're doing? How meaningful is this going to be for our associates? How meaningful is it going to be for our members? We're using our members' dollars. Is it the best use of money for them? So we think about, we call it the three legs of the stool. So again, our associates, community, and our members. We think about that with everything that we do. But most importantly, we need to really get everybody to understand that they're not in this alone. The other motto that is critical, and it's one of the easiest mathematical equations that you're going to ever have to understand. We is greater than me. It's simple. We is greater than me. And we have something that we call a culture of we. We've branded and we've established this culture. And what it says is that every single thing that you do, you're not just doing it by yourself. You're doing it as part of a bigger team that has a bigger impact, has greater influence. And what you can do collectively as the we is so much greater than what you can do as the me. So we talk about that in every single thing that we do. We talk about it during orientation day one. We've built that into every piece of our training, whether it's leadership training, it's technical training, is it frontline engagement training with our associates. As we're troubleshooting, as we're doing career coaching, we're consistently talking and bringing back to that base formula, which is we is greater than me.
And many of your new hires, they don't necessarily come from the banking industry, correct?
Correct.
So how, like finance, we know it's high touch and high trust. How do you build that confidence in someone who's maybe not used to the culture of this industry and what's expected and how you're going to make your customers feel at ease?
So we hire for really three things. We hire for attitude, we hire for enthusiasm, and we hire for aptitude. Oftentimes, we're not hiring, and I'm speaking in most cases, kind of your frontline person. I started.
Right, that's what I'm picturing.
Yeah, I started as a part-time teller. College degree in government, and I worked retail, and I started as a part-time teller. And that story happens over and over. But we find people that are great with hospitality. The number of business cards that I hand out when I'm at a restaurant somewhere or I'm getting really good service in a retail store. I mean, I feel bad because I'm cherry picking employees from some of the favorite places that I eat at and I shop at. We've taken entire staffs from local coffee shops or national coffee shops because the service is stellar and we can give them additional career opportunities. So we look to the service industry, we look to the hospitality industry, people that are in some kind of a sales culture, sales environment, cell phone, auto. And we can teach banking. We can teach banking to everybody because the way that we teach is not a one-size-fits-all approach. We use a pathways approach so that there's not a fixed timeline that says someone has to get from point A to point B by this. If someone's coming in and they've got that banking experience, that's great. We're going to be able to fast track them. For someone that it's a little bit new, maybe we have to go a little bit slower. But there's an author that I had the pleasure of seeing a number of years ago, and his motto of attitude is everything. His name's Keith Harrell. Attitude is everything sticks in my head, and that's what we look for as we're hiring candidates.
So for any of our listeners who might not fully grasp the whole pathway approach, do you mind breaking it down a little bit more? How do you establish a unique pathway for an individual? What does it look like? Just get into the weeds, just a hair, not too much.
Yeah. So our version of a pathway is we have curriculum and certifications for every single position. So for instance, a teller has 3 different tiers, teller 1, teller 2, teller 3. There are certain roles, responsibilities, competencies that are built into that. The further you go up, the more that you're going to be trained. So we have minimum expectations. We want you to accomplish X, Y, and Z by, it might be within your first 90 days, maybe the first 270 days. But we use that as really a guide, as a checklist, as we begin building and working people towards different roles. We do the same thing for our new accounts people, for our assistant branch managers, for our branch managers. So it is a roadmap for us. But the roadmap allows a lot of flexibility in being able to take detours. It doesn't say that it has to be this linear, straight approach. You can, if someone's coming to us with a whole bunch of experience, we can fast track them, or in some cases, skip some of the training. We have brought some folks on that have experience from other local credit unions that use our same systems. And what someone may take 30, 60, 90 days to do, they can do in 2 weeks.
And is that typically done through assessments or through manager observation, feedback, that sort of thing?
Yes, and yes.
Okay, so all of the above.
So it's all the above. We do. We use a hybrid learning model. So
Okay.
we do asynchronous learning. We're able to look at the results. We have someone that's really kind of managing the relationship with these folks behind the scenes, even as they're doing
Mhm.
asynchronous. So it's not completely online. We have. His name's Colton. There's a learning line that we have where they're in direct connection. We're
Mhm.
constantly monitoring their progress, how long it's taking to do things, but we're getting
Mhm.
feedback from their managers. We also use a model in which we have teller. We use teller as an example. Our tellers,
Mhm.
they come out of they do asynchronous. They go into a guided instruction, so they're in a live classroom for several days,
Mhm.
and they go into into their branch. We have teller coaches that are kind of our in-person coaches that
Okay.
follow them to their branch. So these are people that pick
Mm.
up from their normal branch, and then they follow them for 2 weeks. And they are at their beck and call. They're the ones that are really guiding them, constantly giving us feedback, answering surveys
Mm.
on what their progress is. They become essentially a lifeline
Mhm.
for these tellers, and they help communicate to us with what they're seeing and what they're experiencing, and whether we need to, do we have to take one of our facilitators and actually have them go back out and shadow, or
Mhm.
maybe do some remedial work if something is not clicking with them.
That is personalized learning at its finest there. I mean,
Yeah, well, and
having an individual coach, holy moly.
and the telecoach model is pretty amazing, because if you think about it, they're
Yeah.
going from, and this is something that we really reiterated over the past year or so. They're going
Mhm.
from their home branch to a branch that they're unfamiliar with. That means that there's no distractions. Their normal members are not going to come to them and say, hey Ann, can you help me with this? They're a stranger to that branch, so they can have their undivided attention on that learner, which is pretty
Mhm.
amazing. The first week, really they're just shadowing them. They're not leaving their side. The second week, they've stepped back.
Mhm.
They're allowing that new hire to be able to kind of find their own path.
What an incredible tactic.
And that's a nice growth opportunity too for the person who's doing that shadowing,
Yeah.
doing the training.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of our secret weapon on how to build our future leaders, whether they're head tellers or assistant managers, or who knows, maybe future learning and development associates.
Exactly.
Well, that transitions gracefully into my next question, because I was going to say we've been talking a lot about new hire associates, and I would love to shift to how you support emerging leaders. What do you do to upskill and across the organization, from technical needs to just leadership development in general?
Yeah. So again, the question you just asked is why we wake up in the morning.
Mhm.
Again, someone gave me the opportunity, have given others the opportunity. That's our job, is to give our folks the opportunities. We love growing from within.
Mhm.
We that institutional knowledge. If you look at the tenure of our associates, service matters, and when you can grow it from within, it makes a difference. So we invest a lot. So we have an emergent leader program that we call STAR. It's striving to
Mhm.
achieve results. It's an 8-month long program for non-managers. It's broken into really 3 trimesters. It's professionalism
Mhm.
is one of the areas. Leadership is another area. Communications and networking is another area, and it's entirely mentor driven. Learning and
Mhm.
development runs the program. We facilitate it, but we have typically 15 to 18 participants, and we have 15 to 18 mentors that are part of the program.
Wow.
Our success rate is that 80% of the people that, in the history of the 16 years, 80% of the folks that have gone through the program have gone on to be promoted into leadership roles. Now, these are go-getters. So the reality is they probably would have done it on their own, but we're helping to really foster that growth. So that's a dynamic program that we have. We actually, this year we've partnered with a local university. Um, People graduate from the STAR program, and then they ask, well, what now? And the what now is we have a frontline leadership program that was already established, and we were able to provide some feedback to this local university. And it's virtual. It's every 2 weeks. It's folks that are either in a leadership role or aspire to work into a leadership role, and we pay for them to attend that. It's really based around key competencies for that frontline leader, that more entry level
Mhm.
leader. And while that was already established, myself and one of my colleagues, Sean, we had the ability to partner with the same university to help build out a mid-level leadership program, very, very similar. That's actually an
Wow.
in-person program. So not only is there an opportunity for our folks to be on campus, to be able to get the content and the growth around the competencies for someone that's in a mid-level position, but they're also networking with other business leaders. We're a relationship-driven company, so to get an opportunity to be able to network and build relationships within the marketplace is kind of an added bonus.
Yeah, that's an incredible opportunity.
So I talked about leadership, but we also realize that that a lot of people enter the organization through the front door, which is retail,
Right.
and they look and say, what, I have a degree in marketing or a degree in learning and development. I mean, I'm a great example of that. So a number of years ago, 3 years ago, there was a program that was established. Initially, it was, how do we grow our associates from within, specifically for the IT world? This was kind of a post-COVID where we found that we really were looking to home grow our IT folks. So it's called BITS. So it's boot camp for information technology systems, or BITS. And what we did was we built an apprenticeship. So these folks apply for the program, they stay in their current role, but they commit a certain period of time to shadowing, doing applied hands-on learning. With the first program was with software engineering and then software testing. And the goal was, we want to give these people a pathway to walk into their dream role. If it's in information technology. And we've exactly had that happen, where folks have done this and said, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. The IT folks, it's also mentor driven. So they're assigned roles of leadership, they're assigned projects. So they're not just standing back and watching, but they're really hands-on with this. But we've had folks that have made the move and joined these teams and been offered jobs. That's a success. The other success we've had is people have said, you know what, I've been kind of off on my own studying technology, and I think it's what I want to do. And I'm realizing it's not what I want to do. I'm in my perfect job. So that's also been a win, because we're helping people self-discover what is a great fit for them. So what started with software engineering and software testing has now moved into a similar program for network engineering, a similar program for cybersecurity. We're just several weeks from launching a project management version of it, so that hopefully we can grow some project managers internally. So great upskilling opportunity, and again, it's mentor driven. Where we're also at is, how do we offer continuing education to those folks that have graduated from the programs, but there's not an immediate opportunity? So how do we put things in front of them so they can continue to grow? And that's where we're investing a lot of time right now.
I love that you're offering career explorer opportunities like that, and the BITS acronym is on point.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your lessons learned, Brad. So what's one recent program or approach that really changed the way you think and lead your team?
Yeah, I alluded to it a little bit before. Not every learner learns the same way. Some people are in-person learners, some are auditory, some are visual, some are self-guided. So a large portion of the content that we have and the way that we learn is through a hybrid model. So that way we're giving everybody the same opportunity to be able to learn maybe in a way that best relates to them. So that's been key number one, is realizing that we need a hybrid model. There are some folks that traditionally will look and say, well, in-person is better. Some people might look and say, well, educationally, self-study, asynchronous is a better model. We're finding a happy medium in the middle. The other part of it, and I mentioned this earlier, is as we continue to grow, from one end of our marketplace to the other. If you were to go from one side to the other, you're looking at a 3.5 hour drive. We need to make sure that our folks are the ones that are not doing the driving. We need to go to them. So the other thing that we've done, many of our branches, our larger branches, have what we refer to as a learning lab. So it's a small conference room that you can seat anywhere from 6 to 8, 6 to 10 people. There's technology there. There's big screen TVs there. There's computers that are there. So we take training on the road. So we go to them. I'd much rather have one person drive, someone from my team that's driving, versus having 5 or 6 of our branch folks that are out when they could be serving. They could be learning in their own environment, serving their members, and we're being much more efficient with our time. So we continue to look for opportunities for efficiency, and that's been a big one. We do a lot of surveying of our associates. Their voice matters. We do journey mapping. We follow the journey path. We did a journey mapping with our tellers. We just completed one for our MSRs, which are our new accounts folks. And one of the things that we ask is what that learning experience is like, and what works for them and what doesn't work for them. And one of the things that keeps coming back is that hybrid model, and when there's opportunities that we can go to them versus them always being the ones that are driving. It's great if you're within 10 minutes of our headquarters, but when you're 2 hours to the east of us, we should be going to them.
And do you mind breaking, I had you do this earlier for pathways. Do you mind breaking down journey mapping for our listeners?
Yeah. So what we did, this is so fantastic. So we followed the path of, and for tellers, for example, we followed the first 90 days of what their path was. We had our instructional design team that had a system of interviews and checkpoints. So that we were very, very consistent with the questions that we were asking. We used, this was all via data. So we collected data. We used a software called Atlas that we were able to feed the answers and the data into. But we found out, okay, well, right after you completed your asynchronous training, we surveyed you. After you did your teller coach training, we surveyed you. At the end of your first month, we surveyed you, and so on. And we collected the data, and then we took the data and said, okay, what's the story that it's telling us? We found that some of the things where there were inconsistencies in expectations when they got out to their branches. Our job is to service our members, and in some cases to educate them on products and services that can help them with their life's moments and milestones that can make their lives better. But some folks were told, well, I could do this now. I've got the knowledge. Some folks were told, well, you need to do it today. And they're saying, well, I'm not ready. So what it did was it just helped build consistency. We ended up making considerable action to our teller training. I'll give you an example. So we went from 3 days of asynchronous and 1 day of in-person to 2 days asynchronous, 2 days in person. And we moved some of the more complicated, more technical stuff to when they're actually working with their coach in person in the branch. So it allowed us to really move some things around and then to resurvey them. And when we got feedback on what the impact was, and we've continued to survey, if there had been issues previously, these were things that were no longer issues because of how we move things around. So again, we use survey feedback to help us make really data-driven decisions.
Thank you. Yeah, we see a lot of our clients using that, and it really is just a great, we can deliver training as learning and development professionals, but you need the data to know that it's working and iterate and constantly optimize. So I really appreciate you providing that description.
Yeah, we did, as I mentioned, we did our tellers, we did our new accounts folks, and very soon we're going to be kicking it off with our contact center and with our call center, which we're really excited about. That's
great. So looking ahead, what's next for Learning at Members First?
Seems like you've done it all, Brad.
Right? I'm like, we always ask that question, but I'm kind of like,
There's no shortage of opportunities. Obviously, continuing to focus on developing leadership content. We just recently rolled out a coaching model that we're piloting. We have 3 or 4 different trainings that have different coaching models, but they're inconsistent. They don't speak the same language. So we realize organizationally we need to have the same model that everybody's using. It should be one model that we're using for all coaching situations. So that's a priority for us. You may be surprised to hear this, but there's this thing called AI that's kind of big right now.
Yeah, we've heard a little bit about that.
So we're doing I guess kind of a crawl, walk, run with AI, and especially with automation. So L&D was put in a position in which we took the lead with a pilot of Copilot users, and looking at how we would utilize Copilot depending on the ROI of what the beta pilot looks like. I have a high suspicion that we're going to be rolling out to our back office in the near future, probably 400-ish people. We're rolling out automation, so RPA bot automation. We look at AI and we look at automation. It's going to allow us to be much more efficient. It's going to allow us to take some of those more menial tasks and do better, do it faster. At the end of the day, we want to be able to spend more time with our people and more time building relationships with our members. We're not looking to replace jobs. We're not looking to take things away. We're looking to really kind of reinvest in what matters most, and it's the people side of things. And AI and automation are going to allow us to do it. So a lot of what we're doing is looking at how can we implement AI tools into the things that we do.
Brad, everything that you've shared today is so inspirational, and I'm so impressed to hear more about the depth and the breadth of all that you do at Members First. For people listening, what kind of advice would you give them? They're probably inspired now to do more in their organizations. What would you leave people with?
Yeah, the most important thing that we do is we ask questions. We ask for feedback. When you were talking about culture, and we talked about that earlier in our discussion, part of the culture is asking questions and not making assumptions. Making sure that you're at every single decision-making table. Every project that we're involved with, L&D sits at the table. Before we make a decision for another business unit, we sit at the table with them and say, here's what we're thinking, but ultimately we need to collaborate, make sure we're doing this. So I think it's relationships, it's collaboration, it's having the conversations, is probably some of the most important things that you can be doing and not operating in a silo. This is an organization where transparency it runs everywhere throughout the organization.
Well said. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today and for sharing your insights with our listeners.
Thanks, Brad. This was a great conversation.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
My thanks to DaVinci's Client Solutions Consultant, Angeline Evans, and our guest, Brad Garfinkel, VP of Learning and Development at Members First Federal Credit Union. If you have an idea for a topic or guest, please reach out to us at poweredbylearning@davinci.com. And don't forget to subscribe to Powered by Learning wherever you listen to your podcasts.